What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of BOP. This is your boy AD coming in hot. We got the co-host Jules in the building. We got OG triple C Roll in the building. What up, fellas? How y'all doing?
What's going on, man?
Man, I was gonna start freestyling there for a minute.
Come
Oh,
on,
it's
Go
coming
at it,
soon.
man.
We working on it. We working
come
on it.
on,
We
DJ,
working on
DJ Screw. Come on, we
Man,
good.
hold up.
Syrup in my cup. You know what I'm
Got the
saying?
drink in my cup.
I'm saying on the 44 wood grain. I got you, bro.
Yeah,
it.
man. Sitting on Kirby with my hide looking bud. How y'all doing today,
Man,
man?
man,
We're
it's
good. We're
it's a
good.
good day. It's a good day. Houston Texans, man. We got a whole bunch of news coming down, man, in the pipeline. Texans made several transactions over this last few days, and after the Raiders game, we're gonna talk about that game, and we're gonna talk about the game coming up too. But the Houston Texans have released Tyler Johnson,
Mm.
the guy receiver we got out of Tampa Bay, third year player out of Minnesota. We went ahead and released him. He only played in 2 games and only got 29 snaps.
Was he even on this team for real?
he didn't get no targets, so no targets mean you ain't play.
No
Zero
target.
targeting.
So
He just came in here, tried on the uniform and left, huh?
and he put on that Texans helmet and said, "All right, I did my job," and went on, collected his paycheck and chunk due. So
I'm
they
out here.
released him, and in his place they brought back. I want to say re-signed, but they brought back a player from 2019, Tyron Johnson, Ty Johnson, as he usually goes by. He's a third round player, kind of a journeyman type of player. But he does have, a lot of talent. But I think he's a better fit for what they're trying to do, in the future. I know that Nico Collins is injured. He hurt his groin in the Raiders game, and so he may be out against the Titans. We don't know yet. So that may be a reason why. I guess they felt that he was a better option than Tyler Johnson. Um, that's a whole nother segment we can go into, but I'm gonna kind of stay away from that.
Now, are we getting our Johnsons mixed up a little bit?
Right? No,
As
like what we said before the episode started. I say all they did that so they ain't have to get no new jersey.
the New Jersey,
He put on the same jersey, same because
just
watch
switch numbers, huh?
he ain't even gonna switch numbers. He gonna put on the same 40. He gonna come out there number 14
T
and Johnson
Johnson,
on the back.
T
And
Johnson
call,
on the back.
and call it day.
My question is, was it Tyron Johnson that came back that played
Yes.
here before,
Yeah.
or was it Jaleel Johnson that played here before?
That's another Johnson that's coming back to the Houston Texans too.
They both did.
They
So
both did. Jaleel,
Tyron Johnson did play for the Texans before.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
he was in the practice squad and preseason in 2019.
Oh
He
wow, I didn't
played
know
in
that.
the yeah,
I
he
didn't know that.
played on the team in the preseason in 2019. He was one of the standouts in the
Welcome back,
preseason.
Tyron.
And we thought he was gonna make the squad, but he ended up being a practice squad player, and then he bounced around from team to team the last few years. And then Jaleel Johnson last year was on the team, and Jaleel was the best defensive tackle that
He
we
was.
had last year.
Yeah.
And then he asked for his release. Like I
Mm.
think it was like after the third or fourth game, he asked for his
Mm.
release, and they went ahead and released him and let him go to the Saints.
To the
That's
Saints.
that's somebody else who asked for release and got that cut.
And he-
Didn't it?
And
Wow.
here we go. We got
No stuff.
breaking news for the day. Kamu
Yeah,
Grugier
man.
Hill walked up in that office to Nick Casario and say, "Man, you done got my
Man.
boy Jack up out of here, and I got to get up out of here too. I
Is that
got
what's
to
going
go.
on? Hit the
I
road,
got
Jack. And don't you
Jack.
come back no more, no more, no. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
He said, I got
What
to
you
go.
say?
Look, and there's so much turmoil with Jack East to be leaving. Brandon Cooks is liking trade tweets and not showing up to press conferences, finding excuses. Not and there's been rumors swirling around that Brandon Cooks, may be very well traded, by next week. So there's a lot of things going on with the Houston Texans, but I'm glad that the Houston Texans brought in a defensive lineman that was so desperately needed, and he is a productive player. He's not, a world beater. He's not going, you know, do all the things you thought that you would want from a stud defensive lineman, but he's gonna be damn better than what the hell we've been putting on the field today. And he, we looked at the all 22. And it's just it's desperately needed.
It's
Right.
damn. It's just say damn when you
Right.
watch it. It's damn.
What you got, Quan?
And so, you know, with that being said, we at this point now where we can, I think that's all the news of the day, right? Of the week.
Well, I mean, if you look at the very minor moves,
Yeah.
nothing that's gonna shake the house, nothing that's gonna move mountains. But I think these are little small moves that kind of show that um, the back end of the roster still isn't where it needs to be. Because if we was talked to correctly before the season started, a lot of people referred to what Nick Caserio was doing as him fixing the bottom end of the roster first by signing all the backup players, by getting all of the reserves in place and the special team guys in place. And so I think this is just showing that he's still working on that. And it's not as far from complete as far as building from the bottom up instead of building from the foundation being meaning guys like Daryl Stingley, like Kenyon Green, and guys like that. Those would be the foundational pieces. But guys like Jaleel Johnson, Tyron Johnson, and Kamu, and those guys. There was another sentiment that's been going around I wanted to ask you guys about. With Caserio trying all these players, signing all of these guys, taking chances on a lot of these players that a lot of us say we shouldn't take chances on. Some people say we should. And then them not working out and him releasing them or cutting them or trading them so fast. Does that speak any negative to what Nick Caserio has been doing? Or does it speak positive into the fact that we've got a guy who's not afraid to cut loose of the ties?
I think both can be true. I think that
Right.
he's made mistakes with those players, but on the flip side, instead of him just biting the bullet and saying I'm gonna ride out with it, because I'm too prideful to admit my mistakes. For him to go in and cut bait with the players, that shows a little bit of something that you're able to correct those. But at some point, you have to get to a point where you're not making those errors in the first place. Because this is year 2 of you doing the same thing, where you sign players in the off season, expecting them to do something, and then you cut bait with them rather quickly. I mean, Farrell Brown was just cut a few weeks ago, and you re-signed him. And you cut bait with him. Now you cut bait with Kamu. Who's next? Hopefully, for Texan fans, hopefully it's Christian Kirksey. It's the next one to go.
You think he's next?
I hope he next.
Eric Murray can go too.
Well, Eric Murray ain't been playing, so
Right.
he just there.
He gone anyway. He just there in spirit.
Yeah, right.
He show up on Tuesday and get that check, or Monday, whenever it is.
Look, he just won. He won what they in the funeral program. He won the pallbearers, but he ain't no active pall. He ain't no active pallbearer. He just honorary. He's
He's an honorary pallbearer.
Well, I know some cats are giving Nick Caserio a pass of last year. They said last year draft don't count, ratings don't count, none of his moves count. So they kind of give him bypass that one. And this year is his first year that he's actually putting a team together, and it's his first time actually with draft picks and free agency. So to me, it's more of an incomplete because we just don't know what he got.
Yeah. Hey, just a side note. I think we about to come up with a new segment.
Yep.
And it's gonna be called Honorary Pallbearer. Who's the honorary pallbearer for this game? we about to start calling them out, man. After when we doing these reviews, we're gonna call out who's the honorary pallbearer. So y'all drop them down below. Let us know who the honorary pallbearer is for this game, because the Texans is a big corp that we carrying on through the season for the rest of this season.
I got to vote for one pallbearer for this week's game. I can't say his last name, but his first name is Darway.
Mm.
I hope he had wore his matching tuxedo and got his gloves ready because
The white gloves.
he's the next guy in.
Right.
He's the next
So,
guy in place. So that's all to do with our trade,
hmm
our cuts and everything. Do we think
yeah.
that Cooks is going to be traded?
I mean, it's always a possibility. It all depends, what does the Texans get in return? That to me, that defines, if he's traded or not. But with the way it's going, if he doesn't get traded at the trade deadline, I can pretty much assure you he's going to be traded after the season.
Yeah, because
See,
the way he's talking and the way that he's kind of separated himself uh, from press conference meetings and interviews and stuff like that, he
Hmm
just seems like he's there's a disconnect with him in the offense, like you said a couple weeks ago.
hmm
Disconnect with him in the offense with Pep and with Davis Mills. It's almost like he's not really happy right now. So maybe he has a new outlook on whether or not he wants to be here because I know before he said, I do not want to get traded.
hmm
This is the last place I want to be. I want to retire here. I don't want to be traded again. The thing for the Texans, if we could talk about it for a second with Cooks, um, he's a good talent and he's a great guy and he's a great professional. I think everything that the fans were talking about earlier this year that we need Cooks to teach the young guys how to practice, how to be professional, how to play in football games, and how to just be an all around pro. I think he's done that. I
hmm
think we can say that he's performed that duty as a part of being that mentor type veteran. So at this point, I think the best thing, and I've said this at the beginning of the season, the best thing is to allow Cooks to go get on a perennial playoff team. Give
hmm
him the opportunity towards the end of his career to go play with a winner like Green Bay. Y'all can throw out some other teams.
I think it was Green Bay, the Rams.
The Rams.
Um,
There's quite
the
a few
Kansas
teams.
City Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs makes an awesome amount of sense.
Hmm
They've got good players over there, but they still don't have that one guy that can just run those routes and get those first downs, and he would be great with Mahomes.
so
hmm
I
Um,
got I got two questions.
yes, sir.
One, when Cooks was making all his declarations of how he wanted to stay here and how much he loved Houston, how he wanted, was he holding Jack's hand when every time he said that?
I
I
think he
mean,
was.
okay, because that might be the reason why he want to stay, and not it's kind of different now.
I think that's the
And
reason why he's changing his mind. I mean, I
yeah,
really do.
right. And so the second question is, what is the value that you allow him to go back? Yeah, what kind of trade value would you give? To me,
Um,
I take a third and call it a day.
I mean, I would take a third. I would hope for a second. I would take a third, and I would even take a fourth. Just because I know that the team that picks him up not only is getting a middle-aged to older player, but they have to pay his contract next year.
No, hold on,
Well, I
hold
mean,
on, because someone
they can restructure it, but
someone told me earlier today that Cooks is not old.
for wide receivers, man, 29 is
Hey,
pretty damn old.
hold on. Let's get it straight. He 28.
Is he 28?
28. He 28.
He just seemed 29, 30.
He just I bet as you just if you're an NFL fan, you think that Cooks has been in the league for 25 years
Right.
hmm
because
And
he's been
forgive
with the
us, Cooks.
Saints,
Forgive me,
New
Cooks,
England.
for calling you old, man. You're not old at all. Got a lot of youth in you. Excuse me. But in football terms,
He's old.
he's got one more I mean, this is his last contract. I would think one more contract after this. Um, I just think he can help a team somewhere else, and I think he came here for a reason, and that was because he got traded, and then he was assured by Jack that he was really wanted here. And now I think the situation is teams are calling Casario and saying, "Hey, what about Cooks?" And so Casario's having to answer those questions, and I'm sure he's going to Cooks and tell him, "Hey, man, I'm getting these phone calls. Do you have a problem going here, here, or here?" And if Cooks is pushing back on it, where does Casario go from there? Does he honor the man as far as not trading him, or does he do his best for the organization and get an asset in return for him, knowing that Cooks probably wouldn't be here when his team starts to get competitive in 2 years.
And
So I would
honestly,
trade him. I
he
said I would trade
Oh,
him
I
before
mean
the season.
that's an easy decision. You trade Cooks at this point because what is Cooks really giving you on the field? Maybe what 25, 30 yards a game.
Right.
You know, you look up Cook's stats for the year.
he had
I'm gonna say,
255 yards, 200,
yeah.
281.
So he got 281 yards in 6 games, right?
One
Wow.
TD, one TD.
So he's averaging 47 yards a game. I mean,
Yeah,
and
that's not gonna
he's
get him.
not giving you much, maybe that's a fourth of David Mills passing yards a game, but that's you can
We
that can be easily reproduced.
and
Um,
we'll talk about the Mills effect a little later today.
oh yeah, that's coming down the pipeline.
Right.
That's another one of our segments coming up. But Chris, go ahead and give us a breakdown of this Oakland Raiders loss. Houston Texans, I set it up. Houston Texans lost to the Oakland Raiders on Sunday. They end up losing 38-20. The game was close for 3 quarters, and it kind of went downhill, man. It's kind of like rainwater. Keep on falling down.
Well, I think that Texas fans are waking up on Sundays like Groundhog's Day. I think it's beginning to set in to a lot of fans that we unfortunately are ready, just not ready to compete at the level that we all want us to be able to compete at. And it's not a bash on anybody. It's not even a bash on our team, not on our players, not on our coaches. But we just are rebuilding. And I think that that has to be a reminder to any of the fans who's getting down on the Texans. This is a rebuild. It is. It's probably say that a whole bunch. Probably is it? I add an extra B. It's
You got a couple, a
probably
couple, a couple, a couple extra things.
it's probably one of the worst rebuilds that a team has ever had to go through.
Right.
I mean, who was the college team? Was it Miami, University of Miami? There was. It's like the death sentence in college, like SMU. When
Right.
SMU went through that situation where they was paying players and they stripped them of all their scholarships and they couldn't have anybody for 3, 4, 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's what seems like the wrath of Bill O'Brien and Jack Easterby ran through this organization.
Right.
And most organizations, when they rebuild, they have about 5 to 8 players that they can just say, "Here's my foundation."
Mm-hmm.
And we're building from this. We have this amount of money of draft picks, this amount of money that we can spend in cap in, 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 in cap space, but we haven't had that yet. Next year will be the year that we have some cap space. We finally had some draft picks. So I think what we're seeing on every Sunday is exactly who we are. There's no getting away from it. So if we go back to this game on against the Raiders, I
So
want
basically, we'll have the roster for the games we playing.
right. We're basically going through it with the skeleton roster. We're playing rookie football. We have a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of young players. How many young players? Maybe 13 first and second year players,
More than that.
more than
Right.
that, that are
Yeah.
actually contributing. And so that's a good thing. The bad thing is that we don't have anybody to back. We don't have any veterans that are holding the fort down.
But
Mm-mm.
And so,
but if you go back to the game and you see the game and we watch all 22
right.
and we gonna pull up all the stats and all the positive negative of the game. But we were actually into this game throughout the whole game.
I
Mm-hmm.
We
mean,
didn't
but that's going to be us in every game we play.
right,
Yeah.
right. So when they scored, we'll start with 38-20. It really wasn't as bad as the score point out to be.
No. Like the game was tied going into the well, actually the Texans had the lead going into the fourth quarter.
Full
The
court.
Texans was up 20 because it was tied 10-10 at halftime, and the Texans were up 20-17 going into the fourth quarter. And then the Raiders
Correct.
went out, ran off, and scored 3 touchdowns, and that was it.
So hasn't that happened like 5 of the 6 games we played this year?
Yeah,
Right.
well, we have the lead. What
Going
is
into
it?
the fourth quarter.
It
Yeah.
was
So
not just that or the lead or tied. We've been in
that's
the lead or tied in almost every game that we've played.
Right.
right. So that's what
Um,
I mean by when I
the
said
Colts,
Groundhog's Day.
the Colts game, we were actually up 20-3 going into the fourth quarter. We were up 23 going into the fourth quarter in the Colts game. In the Broncos game, we were up 9-6 going into the fourth quarter. So we had the lead in the first 2 games going into the fourth quarter. What was it? 22. What is that? 14. So yeah, it was tied 20-20 in the Bears game going into the fourth quarter. It was tied 20-20 in the Chargers game. We were down going into the third quarter. We were down. That was the only game. Jacksonville, we were tied going into the fourth quarter. So every game, either we had the lead or tied, all except the Chargers game.
So what most fans would probably come back to say is what? Well, that means the defense. Something's wrong with the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, something is wrong with the defense. Our front seven should. I really don't think there's one starter besides Christian Harris and maybe Jerry Hughes that
Mm-hmm.
would start on any other good NFL team. I
I
mean,
don't even
seriously.
think Jerry Hughes will start on another team. To be honest,
No.
I give him some credit because he showed up,
well,
but
he
I
showed
don't.
up early in the season, Chris.
Right,
He been
and right. So if you just called out them 7 players, you really wouldn't say any of them would start on any other team. So Lovey is going to battle, and he's calling these plays, and he's calling these
right.
defenses, and he's and we're fighting. We're putting up fights against these good teams, against these other teams, and then what
Mm-hmm.
usually happens is you get down to the fourth quarter, and then the real team and the
Right.
real talent shows up.
So let's look at the Texans. So we talked about what the Texans had going into those four quarters. The
Right.
Texans, this is what the Texans offense produced in the fourth quarters in these first 6 games. They scored 0 points in the fourth quarter against the Colts. They scored 0 points in the fourth quarter against the Broncos.
Mm.
They scored 0 points in the fourth quarter against the Bears. Against the Chargers, they scored 10 points in the fourth quarter. That was the Great Mills comeback against the Chargers. That we end up losing by double digits. The Jaguars game, the Texans scored a touchdown. The game that they won, they scored a touchdown. And the Raiders game, they scored 0 points. So all in all, they scored 17 points in the fourth quarter in 6 games.
That's a recipe for losing.
And that's not even a field goal a game. That's 2.8 points a game if you just do the average. But they scored 17 total points in the fourth quarter. So that's more of a like you can put a like at the end of the day, the defense is a major problem with this team. It was evident in the Raiders game, it was evident, in damn near every game
Right.
outside of the Jaguars game.
Right.
That the defense is a problem. The Bears game, they ran 280 some yards on us. The Colts, Jonathan Taylor ran for 150, 160 yards, 70 yards on us. Even this game Sunday, Josh Jacobs ran for 160 yards. So it's like the defense has its faults. But at the end of the day, the offense has to produce something. Like you can't go, you know, was it 4 out of the last 6 games? You scored 0 points in the fourth quarter.
And not score.
Like you win 4 out of the 6 games and scored nothing.
But
So
it's kind of like if you ever played football or basketball, pick up basketball with kids, and you say, okay, we're gonna play to 10, and then you goof around, you let them score. Scores 5-5,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get to thinking they're doing something, and then all of a sudden, the better person or the older person, the father or whoever it is, they just smash the gas and blow you out 10-5.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens. These teams are we are competing with the teams uh, off of pure heart. I think
Yeah.
those guys are playing hard, man. We
Okay,
cannot say that they're not playing hard.
so
When I
the
What you
look at
got?
play,
Thompson,
the,
and I look at Howard, and I look at Quisenberry, and I look at Damon Pierce, even when I look at Davis Mills, when I look at Collins, and when I look at the defense, they are playing hard. They're playing
Yeah.
up to their ability. I just don't think that their ability is to a level to where you can win many games in the NFL. We are who we thought we are,
Yeah.
and
but
that's just who we are.
but to
And
play devil's advocate, when we go back to the Raiders game,
right,
and I'm gonna give the stats of Davis Mills and the offense scheme is Davis Mills threw for 302 yards
Mm-hmm.
on 28 to 48 one on passing, two
Mm-hmm.
touchdowns, one interception. Pierce almost had up 100 yards with 92 yards carries on 20 yards and no touchdowns. And Atkins is
Mm-hmm.
probably your leading catcher
Yeah.
with yards at 68, and there
Mm-hmm.
with some mop up yards catches for 554. With that kind of
So,
offensive,
so hold on, Juice. Hold on. Before you go, no, go ahead and finish your statement, and I got something to say about that. My bad.
so with that offensive output, which was the best this offense have shown passing wise, how can you say it's not on the defense and an offense gave a good
Right.
performance like?
Well,
because
let
they didn't
to
score in the
to
fourth quarter when it
right,
counted.
but to your point, Jules. Listen to what you said. Dare had Dari had 54 yards on 5 catches, right?
Right,
Hmm.
And Mills threw for 200. I mean, threw for 302 yards.
right,
Those 54 yards are
having a focus,
stat padding yards.
having
Correct.
If you take away those 54 yards, he had
Mm.
240. What 248?
Correct.
right.
248 yards. So I mean, that's to me that is a, we hate
That's
to say
garbage
it.
time stats.
It's garbage time stats, but if you take away those 54 yards, he has 48 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. And going back to the stats, with Damian Pierce and Jordan Akins and everything like that. But it just it's like, that's not a blow you away type of game. You
Well,
know. Yeah.
I get it. I get it. I was just trying to advocate for the Mills people that says hey, he had a good game. But as we talked in the last game, when we pretty much gave the game plan of how the Texans will play against this Raider defense and how he was supposed to shine. So
Yeah.
to go back to how I feel about the situation, not just playing Dave Advocate, is we knew that he should be able to put up 250 on his Raider defense.
Mm-hmm.
And to say that he did exactly what we thought he would do doesn't say anything about his ability. It just
Yeah.
goes to show that he is what he is.
Yeah.
He's supposed to shine at these kind of games when the Raiders defensive pass defense is damn near bottom of the pack. There's not a person on that secondary that you fear. So he did exactly what he's supposed to do. Was he the reason why we lost that game? No. Is he the reason why we were competitive? You can say that, but there was nothing dynamic about his play that say that we could have won for this game. We could have
Well,
won this
Juice,
game.
he had his own contribution to this loss as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
a pick
I
six
don't.
with 3 minutes to go when you down 11 and you driving down the field, that cost you part. That basically gave you no hope.
right.
You had slim hope, down 11 with 6 minutes when you got the ball, but you have no hope when you down 18 with 2 minutes left. So
Right.
that he had, that's his part in it. That's his only part in it. And I need people to understand that, like, nobody's saying, and I don't think anybody on Texas Twitter ever said that this loss was on Davis Mills, because I think we
I
we
don't even.
basically
I don't even think it's about that anymore, right?
it's not it's about, because my thing is you can only have so many conversations on the defense.
I
You
mean,
know,
let's say let me play devil's advocate too. Okay, so for the first 5 games, we could pinpoint and say, yeah, Davis Mills cost us a couple of these games,
Right.
and a lot of people blame Davis Mills for those losses.
I want
There
to.
was fourth quarter losses. It was a couple drives in each game that if he would have been more successful and more productive in those games, that we win those games. And we can chastise him for it. We can ridicule him for it,
I
and
will.
and people will place blame. People will place blame on him. So at the same time, this week he played a hell of a game, and I think what we've seen this week was a product of Davis Mills and Pep Hamilton having an extra week to sit down and work shit out.
mm-hmm,
Um, I think they worked out some of their pass plays, some of their routes, some of the game plans, some of the play selection that they wanted to go to,
mm-hmm,
and they worked on it because in the first 3 quarters, Davis was, what is the word I'm looking for? He was precise. He
mm-hmm.
knew where he wanted to go with the ball. He understood where the routes were going to open up somewhat. There was a few routes in there that if he holds the ball for half a second longer, those crossing routes come open.
Yeah.
There was a couple of plays that could have resulted in touchdowns that didn't because he got rid of the ball so quickly that he threw it behind players and he's trying to hit these short windows and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But I think what we saw was a result of that bye week, of them having an extra
The
week
extra
to sit.
preparation.
Right, they prepared and they came out and they looked good, man, against the Raiders team. And I
Mm-hmm,
got to commend both Pep and Davis Mills on that.
You,
mm-hmm.
Going
you know,
forward,
Chris.
yeah,
I want, I want to let you finish. I really want to let you finish. But then,
uh
if
huh,
you go on the
uh,
stats of what the Raiders defense have given up on the last
sure,
6 games, they give up an average of 275 passing on all the quarterbacks they playing, and we know
okay,
how bad Russell Wilson is playing, and
wow,
he threw for 264 against this
Oh wow.
I got
on
you,
this Raider defense. And so, if you take the 54 yards of Guy Ware's play, like Eddie said, he's at 248.
okay,
So this is what they give up. So he
okay,
did nothing new or anything dynamic to say that he could be something more. This
Mm-hmm.
is like I said, we pretty much called down the line. He was supposed to do 2 touchdowns, 250 yards, and keep us in the game. But he was
right,
never able to win the game for us. And what we saw in this game, if you when we watched all 22, is when they were down by 11 and it was 7 minutes to go, he didn't command his team to hurry up, get on the ball,
Mm-mm.
rush to the line, let's get down, put his team into
yeah,
position to eat up clock or to save clock to say if we can do a quick score. Now I don't
So
know if that's on Pep, on the
yeah,
offense, or the head coach,
it,
or the whole system.
I think it's
But
on
it,
as
both
a
of them,
leader,
right?
it's a combination, Jules. Because let me paint the picture for those at home who's watching the podcast. This scenario, I think the Texans had about a little bit over 6.5 minutes left in the game. They had all three timeouts. You had all three timeouts with down 11 with 6.5 minutes left in the game, and you approach this series with zero urgency.
right,
You run a play, you run a screen pass, a swing pass to Rex Burkhead. He stays in bounds. He doesn't try to get out of bounds. He would have, and he only got 1 or 2 yards on the reception. He had done better just, dropping the ball and making an incomplete pass where the 1 or 2 yards doesn't change anything. It stops the clock, and you can run another play. But you have situations like that. Then you run a play, and then you walking up to the line, you going getting in bait almost in a huddle, semi huddle, and you going walking up, and you just pussyfooting around and not really putting the pedal to the metal. And to me, at some point, as much as it is the coaching, situation with Pep,
Correct.
Davis Mills has to have some awareness in that situation where you're like, hey, it look at the time, look at the score. Let's do something. Like, can we put ourselves in position to give ourselves a chance?
Yeah,
Right.
you
Because
dance around the word, but you won't
mm-hmm.
come out and say it. Where's the leadership?
Yeah,
Right.
The QB1 is about
Correct.
leadership. It's about
Correct.
playing the position. Like I always say, everybody, my thing about quarterback is not all about stats and arm strength. It's how you play the position. Is
Correct.
yeah,
you are the leader of that offense, that leader of that 11 minute. They look towards you to get
Right.
everybody right, and he
right.
has not shown that he was capable of, or he has so capable that he can lead this team, no matter how the talent level is, to be more competitive going forward. And if you watch the last 7 minutes of this game, as AD was saying, he does not tell anybody, his O line, his center, his receiver, hurry up back, let's get back, let's call next play. He's not even tell Pep, hurry up to the play. I've seen Joe Burrow, a young man,
I
a
was
young
just
quarterback
about to say that, man.
in the same situation. When Kansas City Bengals selected him, they were almost damn near dead last. They were dead last because they had the first round pick.
Yeah.
His leadership and his moxie changed that program around, and then they built around
Correct.
him because they believed he was the one. Now, I don't at this point, it doesn't matter where he was drafted first round pick overall, third round, fifth round. You
Correct.
are QB1.
Mm-hmm.
You're no longer judged by your draft class anymore, which is one of the weakest, lamest arguments of all time when we talk about Davis Mills.
Yeah, the fans out there know when they watch these football games on Sunday, how many times do you see the quarterback looking at the sideline with his hand over his ear, telling the coordinator, speed it up, man, come on,
Right,
speed it up, and telling the quarter, come on, get it, speed it up, telling your offense line to line up and get, and regardless if you think that you are a quiet leader or you're not a vocal leader, but you're a do it by example type guy. You're the quarterback. You've got to get
right,
those guys lined up, and we just didn't see it. I mean, that's what it would take. That's what we need. That's what this team needs. And
right.
so, yeah, you're right, man. We didn't see it. Um, some people say, well, he's just the second year. This is only his 17th game, and he's only played 11 games in college. Well, guess what? He's a third round pick. And I think a lot of people are writing that off like, well, he hasn't had any experience, and maybe we should give him some more time. Well, guess who's not getting no time? What is the quarterback for Carolina that just got drafted last year?
Oh,
Um,
I know you're talking about
Cora
Corral.
Michael.
Corral.
Yeah,
Well, he's injured. He out for the season.
Yeah,
the,
he's not going to get any time.
Yeah,
He
because
they
they
was
about
picked in,
yeah
he
they
was
about to
drafted
draft another quarterback.
he was drafted in the third round, and they about to draft a whole nother quarterback.
hell,
He didn't get one play.
If Kenny Pickett don't show something,
Still
they
ain't
Right.
gonna
gonna
draft
draft
another
another.
quarterback.
He was in his
Correct.
first round.
So don't tell me that we ain't giving Mills enough chance, right? Don't say that, well, he needs 2 more years, another year to listen, man. They picked up Corral in the draft in the third round, just like we did. And he hasn't even played yet, and they're about to draft another quarterback in the first round to replace him. So, Mills, man, I love you. I love your mama, man. I love your family, bro. You know what I'm saying? We
and
appreciate you, man. You're a cool guy. You got to step up and be that guy, or else we've got to go in a new direction, man.
Man, you gonna
We
be in
can't
that
sit
long
here and play
list.
this TJ Yates stuff or
Tom
Brian
Savage.
Hoyer and shit
Yeah.
like that. We can't do that
And,
for a
and
whole nother year.
it's a statement that I made today on Space, and I think it's a lot of truth to it, and it needs to kind of resonate with the fan, what people are not realizing, and the angst and the concern for quarterback in for the Houston Texans organization comes from the lack of stability in the organization. I think the Houston Texans
Mm.
are probably the second worst franchise in the NFL history as far as quarterback stability. I think the Cleveland Browns have that title with the
Mm.
amount of turnover that they've had, as far as quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, not having their franchise guy. The Houston Texans comes in, you know, in a
Right
close
behind
second.
them.
Right.
And outside of what 2.5 years of Deshaun Watson,
And
you
4 years
know,
of Matt Schaub.
and not even 4 years of Matt Schaub. You're talking about maybe 2 years of Matt Schaub.
Mm.
That was that at his in his prime that he did something. So you're talking about maybe in the Texans' 20-year history, the Texans have had a capable starter or the franchise guy for what 5 years out of
5
that
6 years.
five you
Five.
know
Yeah.
5 years out of that, and you're talking about 15 years of NFL football in this city where you're talking about the Tony Banks, the Dave Ragones, the Sage
Uh,
Rosenfields, the
mm,
Brian Fitzpatricks, the Brian
mm,
Hoyers, the Ryan
mm,
Mallets. The list goes on and on and on and on of just journeyman, run of the mill type quarterbacks. And there goes the angst. I think people want to say, they brought up Jacksonville Jaguars. One, they have Trevor Lawrence as quote unquote their franchise guy right now, even though I don't have any faith in him.
Not right now.
And I'm okay with dying on that hill. But they drafted him number 1 overall.
In a week
And they
quarterback draft.
right, and they have I think is Mark Brunell a Hall of Famer, or he's
yeah.
close to being a Hall of Famer.
Well, see,
He
I
He's
heard.
up for it, but he
he's
won't get it.
yeah he's a let's say a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback
Right.
Candidate. Yep.
that they started their franchise off with.
Right.
That's what they started their franchise off with. They
Well, see,
went to
I
the
heard
AFC
somebody.
Championship,
I heard somebody mention about that the
and
reason why that Carolina Panthers and the Jacksonville Jaguars started their expansion teams off with so much success was because they had a different way of doing it back then.
yeah, and the game was
They,
different back then too.
well, they gave them they had, I think there was some cap situation where they was able to spend certain amount of money, and they people wasn't able to hold on to their players as much as
Yeah,
they was, and
right,
the rest of the NFL kind of got a little upset with that.
right,
And then so when the Cleveland Browns became an expansion team, they kind of held back and they said, "Hey, we're not going to do that same thing we did with Carolina and with the
and
Jags,
Jacksonville, yeah,
and same thing with the Texans." So that's why it's taken us so much longer to build a
right.
team as opposed to when those guys, because when they first came in, I think they both went to like the conference finals the second year, first year.
Yeah, Carolina went to the NFC Championship game. I think that was Julius Pepper's rookie year.
Correct.
And then the Jacksonville Jaguars in '98
Right. It was
went
like
to the AFC.
almost immediately.
Right.
And
And
so
man, Chris, man, just going back, people would call. I was like, name me the teams that haven't
right.
had the quarterback stability. And somebody said the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh.
And I said, are you serious?
No, they had
I said, are
two.
you serious? Did somebody literally said the Indianapolis Colts?
They
I
had the
was like,
best quarterback for years.
They had Peyton Manning for damn near 20 years. What are we
Yeah.
talking about? So, like, Nate, you can go down the list. You can go division by division. You can go franchise by franchise, and everybody has had their franchise guy,
Right.
and they've had a productive quarterback play for multiple years.
Right.
For multiple years, So it's just like don't sit up here and try to feed me, you know, just crap and expect me to take it. Like the Houston Texans, that's the sentiment. Because
Yeah.
people who have been fans since day one have watched from David Carr
Right.
to Davis Mills. We
Right.
have watched the quarterback room transition and move from all these different quarterbacks. And
Let's say this though.
mhm.
Let's let me say this. If we Davis Mills has what? How many games left? We got six. We got six in the
we got
books.
11. We got 11 more games.
We got 11 more games. I'm hoping the best for Davis Mills, man.
Yeah.
I really do. I really, really do. And I still hold on to that because I know that if we don't have to use that draft pick for a quarterback, it helps us to rebuild a little quicker. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't. That doesn't mean that I just want to keep Davis Mills just because.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying if he can improve if he can just really improve and develop into something in these next 11 games, then I'm willing
Right.
to take another year's chance on building around him. But
Mm-hmm.
in these next and it's not to say that he's the only problem, right?
Right.
We know we got to fix that defensive line. That has
Mm-hmm.
got to be one of the biggest problems that we have on this team, other than quarterback, is defensive line, quarterback, and linebacker,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you find some explosive targets.
Right.
Um,
Which to me is not that hard to find because
correct.
that position, the way the wide receiver, running back, tight end,
Right.
those players come a dime a dozen because there's a lot of those guys.
They're
There
everywhere,
there's a multitude of free agent wide receivers that can be impact players on this roster. There's a
especially if you got
multitude,
somebody that can get them the ball.
right? There's a multitude of running backs
Right.
that can be impact players on this roster. There's a multitude of tight ends. Hell, we brought Jordan Akins off the street, and
Right.
he's been the most productive tight end all season in
So
2 games.
and to go with along with that, we see that once Nick Casario addresses a position,
Mm-hmm.
that it can actually fix the position going forward.
Mm-hmm.
We just haven't addressed the D line or the linebacker position, in my opinion. And the reason I say that is because he brought back Tunsil, he brought
Mm-hmm.
back Titus, he went and found Kenyon Green in that first round like a champ,
Mm-hmm.
and he put AJ Cann in position. And he was smart enough to have Quisenberry waiting for, Justin Britt to move around now. To fix those four, to solidify those four positions, you got to tell yourself the Raiders have a wonderful pass rush. They have Chandler Jones, they have Max Crosby, and they only got to our quarterback one time.
Mm-hmm.
The week before that, I think we had one sack. They're keeping our quarterback clean. They're actually open holes for the running back. So once we address those positions, we haven't been able to address the defensive line yet. I think that comes next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once we address that position, I think the defense gets better. But this is a damn sure is an audition. This is a 17 game audition for Davis Mills, whether Davis Mills fans like it or not, whether his haters like it or not. He deserves this whole year to figure out, can he be that guy? And I'm pulling for him, man. I
Well,
am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I'm saying right now, I just seen all I need to see from Mills, and we had a conversation 3 weeks ago. I wasn't on the same page as him being drafted in the third round by the Texans. So
Right,
what you're saying, now we're gonna talk about where we at in the draft. So
right.
right now, if we drafted right now, we have the number 2 pick and number
Yeah,
fifth pick and the 34th pick in the second round.
correct.
You're willing to say what we have seen on the tail end of last year and what we have seen this year, you think that we're still capable, Davis Mills still capable of being good enough, or you want to wait another year because if like you said, basically just what you're saying, if we trust Nick to get the players we supposed to get in the draft, because he hit on 4 or 5 players this year, then you expect to spend the cap money we have this year going forward to improve the team here. Do you think that we're gonna be in the same situation to draft a quarterback? And let's go and name them. Caleb Williams from UCL, you'll see. Quinn Evers is names pop up there. There's a boy from Nebraska. His name pop up there. There's a couple cats that can jump up in 2024. Do you think that we're gonna have the same cap on the draft slots to take this spot, or do you think that you can get a defensive lineman like you can in almost every draft to find a
Yeah.
pass rusher? Easier to find a pass rusher in every draft than it is to find a quarterback in every draft. Because we have seen the last 2 drafts are really suspect when it comes to quarterback play, and none of
Right.
these guys, in besides Trevor Lawrence, the last 2 years are where bona fide quarterback uh, stock or high stock going into the season. Everybody, the last year, Trey Lance moved up when he didn't even play. Zach Wilson moved up when he barely played through COVID. You know, you throw in your boy that they said if he'd have played last year, Davis Mills would have been a top 5 pick. Then you throw this year with all the BS with Malik Williams he drops and all the quarterbacks didn't Matt Ritter drop. The last 2 years have been showing you that it's hard to find a quarterback. And now you want to say, and now there's some not fan that you saying that you rather take a shot at 15 and 20 when the roster is better, and then have to find a quarterback drop to you than when you're
But I will,
drafting number two
but
right now.
to go against your point a little bit, Jules. Like everybody thought Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence and Fields and Mac Jones was going to be that dude, right? So
Because not but they didn't have the body of work for it.
yeah,
And
but I'm just
this
saying everybody thought that they was going to be that dude. That's why they got drafted so high. So with saying that, everybody thinks that Bryce Young and everybody thinks that Will Levis and everybody thinks that Stroud is going to be that dude. But we could have a repeat again over some very underwhelming draft picks again at quarterback. So we could be in the same situation where those three guys go 1, 2, and 3, and then we find that they're just not as good as we all hope they could be. I don't think so. I don't believe that to be true, but we could run into that, right?
but you wouldn't take a chance on Mills being halfway decent and then taking a chance on a quarterback that gives you better upside.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say this, Jules. To be honest with you, let me put on my GM hat. If I have the number 2 pick or the number 1 pick,
Because what we're talking about right now, the draft slot. We got the two
Mhm.
right now.
right? If we got the number 2 pick right now, and I'm picking number 2, and I don't know who's number 1. Detroit.
Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit is number one.
Let's say Detroit goes who? Will Levis.
They gonna go CJ Stroud.
See the job. Close,
Okay.
close, 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 close to Michigan.
Let's say he go. They go CJ Stroud. So I'm sitting at number 2, and I don't think I'm wondering that Mills may not be the guy, but he's still young. I don't. He didn't show me everything that he could show me. He's serviceable. Serviceable for another 1, maybe 2 years. He's not really the franchise guy I was looking for. Bryce Young is sitting there in my face.
Right.
The fan in me says take Bryce Young, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
The GM in me says let me answer this phone call. Yeah, hello,
We're not trading down.
hello. Oh, yeah. How you doing?
We're not
Well, I'm
trading.
doing good too. Yeah. So you want to give me 3 firsts for this pick? You want to give me 3 firsts and a third for this pick? Okay, I'll tell you what. You got it. And I'm giving up that number 2 pick, and I'm moving down to whoever. Carolina. Uh, I don't. Who else might need it? Uh,
Well,
Seattle.
Yes, yeah.
if you well, you're not getting three first. You're not getting three firsts for Carolina and Seattle because they're just as bad as we are. The
But
draft slot's not bad. You might get
and
two.
I understand that. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if somebody offers me 3 firsts like they did for Justin Fields, right?
Trey Lance. Trey Lance.
Somebody offered 3 firsts for Justin Fields. They
It was
offered
Trey.
three
It
firsts.
was Trey Lance, not Justin Fields. It was Trey
Was
Lance.
it Trey Lance? Was yeah
Yeah.
Trey Lance? There's teams that would offer a crazy. All I'm saying is, if I'm sitting at number 2 and I get offered like 3 firsts or two, not even two, I need 3 firsts, 3 firsts and a fifth, 3 firsts and a fourth. I'm taking it because I know I'm in a rebuild, and I know that I may that's going to push me to 2025 having 2 picks in 2025. That
Mm.
means I got. That means I got. I'm gonna have 3 picks in this round in this year's draft. That means I'm gonna have another third in this year's draft. So now I know I can build and do whatever I want. My defense is gonna have Christian Harris and whatever D lineman I need. I'm picking my 2 wide receivers. I got Cooks traded because I got a third for
So
Cooks.
when you gonna pull the trigger on a quarterback?
You pull the trigger. I mean, you can pull the trigger in year 2 or 3. You can pull the trigger next year. You
So
know.
we gonna keep on the subpar Davis Mill train just to get more draft picks.
Hey,
Is that the conversation we have right now?
all I'm saying is
Because
you never know.
you're in love with draft picks.
No, I'm not in love with draft picks. I'm in love with building this team.
Well, you can build you can get the most because
We
this
ain't
is an
did it
AD
yet.
line. No, this is an AD line. You want to keep passing the buck on the most important position in all the sports to get right, just to get more draft picks because you want to keep seeing if Mills can be the guy or flop for next year. So you want to go for 3 years of tanking just
Hey,
to get more draft picks.
no, I'm not going through more years of tanking. I'm going through three. I know for the next 3 years I can still build this team. This team has went through the worst implosion that any team has ever been through. We don't have a D tackle. We don't have a one technique. We don't have a three technique. We don't have two defensive ends. We don't have two other linebackers to go with Christian Ayers. We're missing a safety. We're missing a corner. We need a real tight end, a motherfucker that can, excuse my language. We need somebody that
Okay,
can catch the
this
ball.
is the only time. This is the ultimate argument you can expect. You're not going to get these premier players at every position.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. You
You
can.
no, you can't
Why you can't, Jules?
because nobody in NFL does it that way.
What do you think these teams are doing?
Who?
We the only
The
team that don't
Rams?
think we can get premier players.
You know what? The Rams traded all they picks for All Star players, and look what
And
they're
they
doing now.
going to the Super Bowl. You don't
Who
want to
is
go
the
to the
Rams?
Super
Not
Bowl?
this year.
You don't want to go to the Super Bowl?
Look, you know what? We're gonna have
Hey,
we gonna have this
Here's the
conversation
thing.
so hold
We're
on,
not
hold on, hold on,
trading.
hold
We're
on.
not
We're
trading
going.
away nobody. We're not spending money. We're doing
we're
it
gonna
through
go.
the draft.
We're
We
gonna have this
going.
conversation in the off season when the off
Yeah,
season come on.
No,
we gonna
we
this
should have it
conver
right now.
well this
No,
conversation.
because we still got to talk about the game coming up here, and we don't we
But
by
you
the
know
off
what
season.
you need, right?
We gonna somebody we're gonna curve this whole
Are you happy? All
conversation
right.
for the off
Let me
season.
ask you this, Jules.
So
Let me
let
ask
me
you this. Are you happy? Are you happy at wide receiver?
I'm content,
no.
You content.
right? But I think we got talent.
You content with Cooks, Collins, and Tyron Johnson.
But I also believe I have a additional second round pick this year, first round pick, and a
I
second
thought
round.
you
I
said
can give
I'm
it.
the one that love draft picks.
But I'm not trying to trade down to get more draft picks.
Okay,
But
so
I know what
what?
we have
I'm
right
just
now.
saying. Are you happy
Right
with
now
our
we
D
have
line?
two first round picks. You have one second round pick.
Are
You have
you
three
happy
round
with our
picks,
D tackle?
and you have $65 million under the cap.
Are you are you happy with our D tackle, Jules?
You know I'm not. I'm not a big Lopez fan.
Are you happy with our defensive ends?
Not really.
What about middle linebacker?
You know I hate the linebackers. You know I hate the linebacker core.
We just cut Kamu Kruger Hill,
But
and
we're good O line, and our secondary is in good shape.
we got two people in our secondary that have a position.
But you have Nelson for another year,
Okay,
who's a good cornerback too. We're not
I can
asking to
deal
be
with that.
the,
Yeah,
we're not asking to be the shutdown corner. We asking to
I can
be
deal with that. I can deal
and
with
you
that.
and you can protect him by having your top safety on top of him. So your
Okay, so you
secondary and your own line. So all you really have to do for this year is solidify three positions, and you're in your better shape going into 2024. Then you can do three more positions.
so
You don't have to do
what three
everything in
positions
one
do you
year.
want to solidify?
No,
I'll
no.
write it
I'm about
down.
to say we still got to go about the Titans game. We gonna have this conversation later.
No, I'm saying real quick, just real quick. What three
What three
positions do you want to solidify, brother?
this year? 2023. I want linebacker, D tackle, and I want quarterback.
And with the first three picks.
That's my three picks. I'm not this in the all season. In the all season,
Oh,
I
in the
want
offseason.
those three positions taken care of first.
Okay. All right. And then, so what about wide receiver?
I think I can get a good wide receiver in the free agency if necessary. If we trade Cooks,
So what are we doing at the other linebacker?
once again, you still got free agency,
So we're
So
only going to have like $50 million in free agency.
right? And I'm not trying to be rolling in one day.
I am. It's been
But that's
it's been
that's your
three
problem.
years.
Once again, AD, go ahead,
What?
O's. Go ahead, Ace. Let's talk
So
about the Titans game. Go ahead, AD.
so let me tell you. So in the midst of this, because I got inspired by Chris, and I did a mock draft simulator.
Uh,
Oh
We had the
Jesus.
number 2 pick, so I traded the number 2 pick down to number 9. So to take this is what the with all the trades and everything, Texas end up with Jalen Carter, Michael Mayer, the tight end out of Notre Dame, Bijan Robinson, Nolan Smith, that edge at Georgia,
mm,
Peter Skoronsky,
a
who
tackle.
who's a
Tackle.
tackle. You got
Right.
Sakai Ika, the
The D
defensive
tackle
tackle
from
from
Baylor.
Baylor.
Right.
Then you got a center in Ricky Stromberg from Arkansas.
Oh, that's beautiful, man.
And then you got Zay Flowers, the
Oh my
receiver from
God.
Boston College.
No,
Oh
no,
Lord.
hell no. You done did that to please Chris.
What kind of
I know
simulator
what
is
you
that?
fucking did.
Hey, he was the best. He was the best receiver on the board. He was the best person on the board
Jesus.
at
What
pick.
You
round
know
was
what?
that?
Hold on, Juice. Hold on. Let me say because we're gonna get sidetracked. I picked Zay Flowers at number 69
Just to
in
please Chris.
in the
Wow.
in the in the second in the was it the third
Third
round.
round.
And then I picked Devon A Chain
What?
at 101. He lasted all the way to the fourth round. Then I picked the linebacker Jalen Graham. I picked
Right.
another center, Steve Avila from
Yeah.
TCU.
Right.
Picked the receiver Nia Smith from A&M in
Yeah.
165. Then we
Is that
finally
number
got a
zero?
quarter. Hold on, finally got a quarterback, Sam Hartman, who I think is going to be underrated from Wake Forest. At 168. You have Noah, got a kicker. Everybody said they want to get rid of Fairbairn. We got a kicker, Noah Ruggles from Ohio State. Javon Hicks, the safety out of Cincinnati. Matthew Jones, a guard out of Ohio State. And DJ Turner, a cornerback out of Michigan. And with all the trades, the Houston Texans came away also with a first from Seattle, a first from Las Vegas, and a second from Las Vegas, all in 2024.
Jesus.
Man.
So I had a Chris moment on this mock draft simulator, but to put it to bed, let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk about this good old Tennessee Titan game, and let's wrap it up. Let's talk about it, wrap it up, give our predictions. For this game, this division rival. They supposed to be wearing the good old Oiler uniforms for this
I'm not
game.
I'm not
I
watching
heard they not.
I'm not watching 1 second of it.
No, they said they not.
I'm
Are
not
they not?
watching one
No,
second of
they
it.
can't wear them until next year. They didn't file the paperwork fast enough.
Okay, then
Okay.
I'll watch it. But I'm not
So
if they had the Houston Oilers blue on, I was gonna watch one
Yeah.
so
motherfucking second of it.
Yeah.
so this is gonna be one of those games, man, that on paper it should be similar to the Raiders game, as far as score wise, where we get blown out. But in every division game, it's gonna always be tightly contested. The Texans always find a way to pull a game out against the Titans, even if they, won and whatever, owing whatever. They'll find a way to beat the Tennessee Titans.
Right.
So could the Texans pull this out? It's always a possibility because it's the division game. But for me, Derrick Henry about to run wild, and the Tennessee
Uh,
Titans, it's gonna, it's gonna be a good game. But I think Tennessee is just gonna turn around and hand the ball off to Derrick Henry and say, you know, do
break
your
a
thing.
record.
Yeah, do your thing. I, you know, but what are y'all thoughts about this game on Sunday?
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, you give me the flow.
Yes, sir.
Um, since Jules won't be watching the game,
I promise you, bro. If they were watching, if they were wearing Houston Oilers blue, and they were doing this whole Houston Oilers thing, I was gonna watch 1 minute of second of this debauchery. I was not gonna do it.
so you
But go
sound
ahead.
like you sound like our girl Swan, man.
Yeah, I can't do it. Go
She
ahead.
said she ain't watching the game either. Um, I'm watching the game. Unfortunately, another Groundhog Day. But I've you know, I've had my come to Jesus moment. I understand that the end game is you cry now and you laugh later,
Mm-hmm.
right? You cry now, you laugh later. I'm crying. We all crying right now. We're not finna win this game. I love. I mean, I hate even talking like that. You know, because people swear up and down that's a loser's mentality. But the simple fact is, we just finished talking about the draft. That is that should be the Texans' goal, is to get into that draft and get to the position where we can to take the best thing to rebuild our team. We can't
Mm-hmm.
rebuild our team. Matter of fact, we tearing our team down as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
We got rid of Graham Hill. I remember last year, all of y'all, not y'all, all of the Texans fans were screaming, "Yeah, Graham Hill, he the only one balling out there. He the baller, man. We need to re-sign him. Make sure we." Now they done cut him. They found out it was all hype. He was just better than the chumps that we had in there before. And forgive me, Texas, Houston, Texas players. I don't mean to talk negative on you guys, but last year we was horrible, and he came in and gave a spark, and everybody swore up and down he was going to be. We're going. We're not rebuilding yet. We're going. We're losing players,
Mm-hmm.
and
Maybe a couple more before the end of next week.
if you see Cooks getting traded next week,
Yeah,
Matter of
you
fact,
know the tank is in.
yeah.
I tell you,
And I don't want to say tank because that's a harsh word, but the
Eh,
general manager is doing the right thing by us, whether y'all
my
know it or not.
and
my
look,
my thinking,
huh? Hold on.
my thinking.
Let me say this real quick. On the flip side, Chris, if Christian Kirksey is not cut or traded, we are all in on the tank.
We all in.
All right.
Go ahead, you.
No,
To,
well,
to,
here's
to,
my thing. Let me throw my thing. I'm gonna stop talking about that. We play the Titans. The Titans aren't very good themselves. They just a better team, and they just better than us in the division. They're gonna end up winning the division by default,
Mm-hmm.
only because the Colts flopped. Matt Ryan ain't nothing.
Matt
They
Ryan
were a
got
bunch of
benched.
yeah. They were empty pinata. He broke open that pinata and no candy came out. They there was a false flag team. Okay, so the Titans are going to end up winning this division by default. The Jags were a bunch of hype. The Jags spent a bunch of money and they had to put up a good fight. They look good on the surface, and the Texans just aren't there yet. So again, unfortunately, this is the Titans' season again to win another division and to get put out in the first round. I don't have any faith in them to do anything in the playoffs. Excuse me, Tannehill is still a below average quarterback to me. Um, their defense, I love their front seven. I love the way that they play aggressive. Um, but I don't trust the Titans for nothing in the world. They're gonna beat us because Derrick Henry's gonna have damn near 370 yards. He's gonna have a field day on this front on our front,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just how I see it. I don't know if they score a whole bunch of points, which they probably will because I said they won't. And but I do see Derrick Henry having a field day. I just don't think we can stop him. Um, I hope our offensive line, and I think this is going to be the best thing that's going to give us something to smile about. Our
Mm-hmm.
O line is gonna battle that great front four, and I think they end up keeping Tannehill pretty much clean
Mm-hmm.
most of the day until it gets to the end of the game, and they know we got to throw the ball,
You
and
mean
then they
Davis Mills?
yeah, excuse me, who did I say?
You said
take
Tannehill.
Tannehill.
Tannehill, yeah, Tan. You know, we was calling Davis Mills, we was calling him Mitch Tremilski because that's who he's playing like Trubisky. But yeah, I don't think we stand a chance. Um, I'm ready to get to the off season already, man. I love my
but
team, man.
but
I don't like
before
to
you get
see.
it,
You know, you
before
ever
you,
seen one of your friends get in a fight and he's just getting his ass whooped, and you just want to stop the damn fight, man. Stop, and he's like, nah, man, I can no, let me keep going, wiping his eye, like, nah, bro, just stop, man.
It's
Let's just
over with.
throw the towel in, man. Come on, man.
all right,
My
before you
bad.
jump 12 games into the offseason, let me go and get my little take to the
Yeah,
to the
man.
Titans. So here are the key points that I want to talk about. Like you said about the Jeffrey Simmons and the front seven of Tennessee. It's going to be a good test for our rookie Keon Green, Quisenberry, who's trying to prove that he can be a full time center going forward, and our priority AJ Can. They're gonna be a fight all game, and we hope that our front four, our front three, because I think our tackles been battle tested. This is the first time that DP is gonna find a great rush defense to go against. You're gonna see what DP can really do when you know that you have a front seven that's geared to you and can stop you because they are built to stop Jonathan Taylor. They were built to stop the running game in Jacksonville. They are built to stop the running game and inside pressure. So this is gonna be his first true test as a full star running back against a very good front four, front seven. My second point is Austin Hooper. He's been he's been kind of lost in the shuffle for the past couple of years, leaving Browns. He was a big free agency target from coming out of Atlanta. But our tight ends face our defense seem to always get 100 yards, 75 yards, big catches. So Petrie's gonna have some time in his hand because Austin Hooper is actually rising up the charts to go back again to being trusted by Ryan Tannehill. Him and King gonna be in the slots and trying to cover corners. Robert Woods is gonna give a good test to Stingley because he's not dynamic, but he know how he's a very good route runner. He's been in the league for a while. He's a good veteran. So you want Stingley to go against the best and people who know how to run routes. He had a good test with Adams, so I don't think Adams only had 6 catches
Yeah,
from
he
maybe.
only had 6, so he didn't really do too much.
So you know Stingley is that guy, and the more reps he gets against top talent and guys who know how to run routes and guys who know how to just play the position, the better he gets big. So that's my third favorite thing I want to watch the game. My fourth one, we know that Henry gonna get his yards. We're not worried about Henry getting his yards. He can get his yards and they still lose, but of course I don't think they're gonna win. But now you want to see can our front seven do anything with the pass rush against the Tennessee O line. Tennessee O line is not that good either. They're allowed to have pressure on them. Tannehill is not as mobile as he used to be. So if our old line of Green and Whipmaster and Spin Master Collins all up can put any kind of pressure, it can stop that passing attack of Tannehill and keep the game somewhat close. Now I've come from to the Mill side. Once again, the Mills is facing a secondary that's not really that good. I can see them he throwing for 200 yards, 250 yards, maybe 2 touchdowns because their secondary is not good. But if our O line can hold up to the pressure just enough to give him more time to make the throws, he should be able to be competent. But I don't want the competence of the teams he's playing to overshadow that he's not that good of a quarterback. But the defense that he's playing against, he should be able to pass and halfway decent and keep the game somewhere close until both of the teams, offense and defense, pretty much run a gas like they've done every game since week one. So my prediction of the game, I think it's going to be another maybe 25-13 game. This game, Tennessee Titans will have a chance.
Chris, go ahead and give your score prediction, and I'll give mine.
I'm gonna say 31 for the Titans, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 31 for the Titans. I'm gonna say 14 for the Texans.
So y'all are on that high scoring tip. I don't think Tennessee scores as much. Once again, I'm gonna stay with this low scoring prediction, close game. I got the Titans beating the Texans. Let's say 24-17.
How you gonna say that I'm on a
Hold
high
up,
score
dog.
and
That's
you
like
outscored
5 points.
me? I said 24-13 to 14. I said that you gonna go above me on both numbers.
Go call us out. Go call us out with your high scoring game and give us a 2-point difference. Golly.
Just the nonsense, man.
The game will be close. The game will be close,
It's
and
gonna be close.
it's gonna be close. The game is gonna be close. You know, I mean, hell, Chicago Bears ran for 280 yards, and it was a 3-point game. So I mean,
Right. And
the
like I
tight,
tell
huh?
Man,
everybody else,
if hmm, hmm,
this
if
same
y'all
defense
if
before you get
y'all
to
think that
this same
Christian
defense.
Kursky did not want to tackle Josh Jacobs, just think him trying to tackle Derrick Henry. He
But
is
but you
not gonna
but listen,
participate in any tackles.
but you got three linebackers now, maybe
Yeah,
four when Pierre Lewis come back. You got four of them that trying to prove themselves. You have Harris trying to prove himself. You got Blake Cashman trying to prove
Cashman.
himself. You got Wallow trying to prove himself. You
Yeah.
got Pierre Lewis trying to prove himself. These guys are young. They trying to show that they trying to build as part of the team. So you
Come
might get a
on,
better
bro.
effort than
This
Hill
this
and
the stuff we
Kinsey.
go through every week for the last 4 5 years.
Chris, I'm trying to keep the streak alive, brother.
Man,
I'm
I
trying
ain't
to keep the
keeping
streak
nothing
alive.
alive, dog. Just tell the truth,
The
man.
Raiders broke the Raiders. Look, I almost had it with
Golly.
the Raiders game to that pick six. So we got to keep
Yeah.
the streak
I had
alive.
it. I had it.
I'm just saying,
I had
y'all know,
31,
y'all,
17. I had it.
Yeah,
y'all know Garrett Waller's a special teams player, right?
I think I know it too. And
Y'all know
Cashman
he had
is
no business starting out there
you know
against
who
Derrick
else ain't
Henry.
got no business starting?
Who?
Christian Kirksey, and
Kursky.
Kamu Grugier
Man,
Hill. Those two that
God bless them boys, man. But come
yeah.
on, bro.
Davis Mills shouldn't be starting, but we won't talk about that though.
He shouldn't be either.
But you just said you want to run to another. No, but I'm not
I
playing no
didn't
more.
say that. I
I'm going.
said if somebody offered me three first, that's the only way I'm not taking Bryce Young. I'm
I don't
taking
want.
Bryce Young at number two unless somebody offers me three first.
well,
Like
that's
I said, yeah. Like I said earlier, I don't want to
Write
see
that. Hold on,
another
write that down,
Mills.
dude.
I don't want to see another Mills start. If I could do it today, I'll trade his ass today. I don't
But
want to see Mills
listen,
on my
dude.
fucking team
but,
anymore.
but,
No more.
Dude.
I'm just tired of seeing how I'm tired of the way he played quarterback. Damn the stats. I don't like the way he played.
You don't like it.
I don't like the pick. I don't like Nick selected him.
Um,
Y'all know my rant about the situation. I'm not gonna. It's getting late. We had a great
mm,
show. You know what I'm saying? I'm done. Fuck it. I'm just done. I just can't
well,
stand
well,
it.
write
on
write
that
this
note,
down before
man.
you go, so you don't bad quote misquote me. I want Bryce Young
I
with our
got you.
very first pick over anybody, over Jalen Carter, over anybody, over all other quarterbacks, unless some damn fool calls us and says, "Hey, I want to give you a three first rounds and
Mm.
a fifth or a fourth or a third round
But
pick." For the,
this is the trade that the Texans got in that simulator from the Seattle Seahawks.
yeah,
They got the number 9 pick,
mm,
they got the number 23rd pick,
uh,
and they got a 2024 first round pick. So you got 3 first round picks in return for the number 2 overall pick.
why wouldn't
Two
you wouldn't take that?
two in the swap. Okay. So y'all two had y'all little extreme drafting. You got inspired by Chris. So I'm gonna tell you my extreme case. New Orleans Saints trade their whole draft pick for Ricky Williams 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
All right.
San Francisco
I
just did that with
For Trey Lance,
right.
with Christian McCaffrey.
right?
So if a team said I will draft you my whole draft class next year for your second round pick, I would say hell no, because I do not want to see Mills as my quarterback the next year.
What if Aaron Rodgers say, "I want to come over there to y'all"?
I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers because his ass should stay retired.
Well, I'm just talking crazy now. It's time
I
to go
know,
to
So
but
bed,
yeah,
man.
it's late, man. It's
It's
late.
late.
We going down rabbit holes and
See what you
we
do to his meals.
but all in all, man, we got a game on Sunday. We hope for the best. We pray that it don't be worse than what it's been.
the tank is in.
You know,
Y'all can
and
say what y'all want to say. The tank is in.
and at the end of the day, if we lose this game, Davis Mills becomes the leader of the honorary pallbearers,
The point.
and he gonna be leading us down. This aisle with his white gloves in tow.
I
You
just
know,
hope
so
Cooks get traded this next week. When is the first? What is today's date?
The first,
Tuesday.
yeah,
The
it's
Tuesday.
Tuesday. So Tuesday at 3 o'clock Central.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday about 3 o'clock Central. So at the end of the day, we gonna know something that Sunday night after the game.
Well, you
We
know,
gonna
it'd
know
be a
something.
good look. You know, it'd be wonderful if they just say on Friday, Cooks has been held out of the game on Sunday. We all know what that's gonna mean.
Yeah,
Mm.
Oh man,
but
and if they give us a somebody says, well, you know what? I'll give you a third round pick.
somebody gonna give us a second.
If
It's,
somebody give
it's,
us a second, man, I'll be so
Yeah.
happy, bro.
yeah.
Got $50. I said that never gonna happen.
Because I'm going to get Zay Flowers, man. I'm
So
going to get the best receiver in the draft, Zay Flowers, Boston College. Can't be stopped.
we
Go
we
ahead.
gonna
Can't be
have we gonna have
guarded.
Go
look
ahead,
Chris
AD.
Chris and
Go ahead,
Jules. We
AD.
gonna have the whole off season to do our breakdowns. We gonna go position group
Well, I'm
by
breaking it
position
down in week
group.
8.
We gonna talk about them position group by position group in the off season, man. Because that draft primer gonna be heavy and hot, man.
Yeah.
So,
So
but you know, at the end of
AD,
the day, man, you know, hopefully the Houston Texans, you know, give us a little something to celebrate. You know, we got at this point we got to find more victories. You know,
Well,
and
according
so.
to AD, this week we're going to see a low scoring game. 27-14. He said he was low scoring.
and
And
AD,
so
before we go,
we shouldn't have
I just
nothing to
want
cheer about.
I just want the people, the Mills fans, the Mills lovers, the stands, don't come at me when he throws for 225, 250, 2 touchdowns, and he look halfway decent.
Look,
I'm a forfeit. He can do those kind of things, but he
look.
can't lead the team. I don't bring me
Hey,
stats to me.
the
Don't bring them in.
BOP podcast is a group that you know we're okay with being wrong. We ain't gotta be right.
That's
We
right.
just giving our thoughts and everything like that.
That's right.
You know, a lot of the Twitter, Twitter in general, Twitter spaces, and hell, people in real life gotta be right more than anything, and they gonna fight to the death for being right. But you know, I'm not gonna be the one to say I told you so. But so it is at the end of the day, man. We thank y'all for tuning in for another episode of BOP, man. We got your boy Jules in the building. We got C Roll in the building. This your boy AD signing off, man.
Yes,
Please
sir.
like, share, and subscribe. Follow us at the bottom on that ticker. And man, we'll holler at y'all next time, man. Peace.
All right,
Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack.
get off my
Don't you
line.
come back
Get off
no
my line.
more.